think, or you're just here
For me, I'm here just, as support to talk about the OSLAG grant opportunity and
Okay.
kind of see where the.
Jen? Do the magic of Charlotte, we are live.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right,
Charlotte.
I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 9:07. We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Alderman Hillman, Alderman Herget. Brett Jackson.
Here.
Brad Goddard.
Yes.
And Alderman Waterman is next. All right, public comments. Laura, did you want to?
Hi, so most of you know me. First of all, I want to say that I am here on comp time. I took an hour comp time from work. So I am here as Laura, the resident, homeowner, and taxpayer, and not Laura, the employee. So I just wanted to make that clear. There's two main topics I want to just touch on today. The first one is the $300,000 help and money grant. So some of you know that I was instrumental in working on the original project. What I would like to do is just beg of you that you at least continue the top two that we worked very hard in getting in that proposal. Number one is Chief Mike Swimlin at the time really pushed hard to educate the importance of the flat security camera at the parks, at least in the main points of our parks. We don't want to make expensive improvements only to have them vandalized and ruined. That really has to be at the forefront of before any project gets worked on. We have to think about how we're going to ensure those improvements. So I just hope that you guys will keep that from the original plan in your current plan. The second thing is, if anyone has been here for any amount of time, you'll know that ad nauseum, I've talked about the pickleball court. 4 or 5 years ago, the pickleball court was a dream. It was just becoming popular. We thought it could be a great draw to Kelowna for tourism, for visitors, and for recreation at our Ty Massey recreation area on the Hennepin Canal. We can make it a major recreation area. It's not going to be a betplex by any means, but it's going to be our betplex. We've got softball games, baseball games, kayaking, the Rock River, basketball court, picnic area, fishing. The tennis court, I live right nearby, has been vacant for so many years. Years ago, when pickleball became a thing, my husband and I took our pickleball paddles and balls and tried to play on the tennis court to make do, and it was kind of laughable. So we thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a pickleball court here? We continued the movement. As I'm sure Todd remembers, I came to many meetings, we pushed it, and all due respect to Mayor Ropp at the time, he did propose that Public Works, for lack of a better term, I'm sorry, but half-ass a pickleball court. He offered up, I believe it was $12,000 to do that. I begged of the council at that time, please let's not half bake it. Let's actually wait for some good money to do it right, to have one great, nice thing built for Kelowna that's done right and well and professionally. And he agreed, the council voted, yes, let's wait. The money was put on hold for many reasons. I am privy to some of those reasons. It's not worth getting into. But the intent of that money was to improve our playgrounds. The intent of that money was to improve our parks, for the quality of living for our residents. And I just hope that y'all continue that vision. And at least the top two on my wish list would be the cameras and the pickleball court. So I just wish you luck in continuing with that vision. My second point I want to make is not going to be popular at all. It's not an easy conversation to have. Scott Family Park, I am one of the people that believes we should sell it. It's a beautiful park. It's a beautiful addition to our city. I was here in this room when it was gifted to us, and I was excited. I said that at another meeting. Oh my gosh, we had visions of using the lodge as a community center. We had a lot of visions. We also had a lot of naysayers from day one. Wow, it's going to be an expensive endeavor. Can we do it? And they waited and waited and waited to accept it, finally saying, whew, We'll try it, but it's gonna be expensive. I'm here to say it's time, and I know some people are new to the board and say, man, I don't wanna throw in the towel yet. 12 years, our residents are ready. Some of the residents I've talked to, I don't wanna speak for everyone, but my people have said, damn, it's been 12 years of limping. To me, it feels like our house is on fire and we're picking out drapes. Our city's on fire. Our downtown looks like hell. Our municipal buildings look like hell. It's really hard to sell to taxpayers, hey, you wanna invest in a cabin? You wanna invest in a park? No, we shouldn't be in the resort business. We're in the city running business. We should be worried about public safety, municipal buildings, how the municipal buildings look to investors. 5 years from now, we'll probably still be operating out of a gas station and this was a restaurant. Is that what we want to leave our community 5 years from now? About 5 years ago, Chief Swimline and Rich Holman, the economic developer at the time, went to a symposium on building a new municipal building. They came back very excited. We spent $30,000 on this study to say, your municipal buildings are important to investors. When they drive through town, they will look, oh wow, your police department's in an old gas station. Oh wow, your city hall's in an old restaurant. They urged us to build for the future. Build it too big, build it too beautiful. You know why? Because people will then say, wow, that is beautiful. I'm gonna build a home there. I'm gonna build a business there. But right now, we are so stagnant with the old police department and the old city building. I thought I was gonna retire, so did Mike Swimline. We thought we were gonna retire out of a beautiful new municipal center. I will retire out of the old gas station. I want more for our city. It doesn't mean we lose the park. It doesn't mean the beautiful park goes away and dissolves. It means it's ran by someone in the resort running business. If someone gifted us a barber shop, would we say, woo, we're all barbers now? No, that sounds silly, doesn't it? We're in the city running business, not the resort business. Leave it to a professional that can go to a bank and say, I need $1 million, a KOA type resort, because it's a resort. Pee-wee golf, basketball, pool, cabins. We're trying to limp it along saying, but it's ours. No, it's a beautiful resort piece of property that should be sold to someone willing to invest in it. Invest in it being a resort, and then we can still promote it, invite people to our city to enjoy it. It can be beautiful. Furthermore, we should be charging 5% tourism tax. Are we doing that? I don't know. We could be, when it is run by a professional resort business, think of the tax revenue we could be receiving from that. And then we could really promote it and say, this is a beautiful resort ran by resort people. If you can drive by our municipal buildings and think that we should focus on running a resort, then continue doing that. And I'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Hey Laura, when you said flock cameras, did you mean all parks or just some parks?
I don't know what the budget would allow, but at least target some key areas where there's been improvement.
And when you say sell, Columbus Scott Family Park, you're talking all the property?
All the property,
From Poppy Garden Road all the way to the creek?
all the property.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. And I did take an hour off, so I'll kill the rest of my hour.
Okay. All right, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Next is the minutes, and I had made a mistake and I sent you all the minutes. It was actually my agenda and it was mismarked. So I gave you the minutes, the new minutes. So we take a second, look those over if they're good. And in parentheses, under public comments, it says NA, if none, that has already been removed. So the if none is not there. Did you see anything wrong with those? Did you see anything I missed? Any pertinent information?
I don't think so.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And then we'll take a roll call vote. I did not know I was needing to do that, so, with the roll call, Alderman Hellman, yes. Alderman Herbert?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Goddard?
Yes.
Motion passes with 4 yeses and 1 absent. Okay. So, unfinished business, that should actually be under new business, but our first discussion that we're gonna talk about, the very first thing on our list is whether or not, our committee wants to recommend surplusing the campground or, retaining it. I feel like, and I know I put this on because I feel like every time we feel like we talk about it, we think, yes, we wanna retain it, and then we start doing work and we're like, well, I don't know, should we get rid of it, and I know everybody is talking one way or the other, so I'm thinking we need to discuss whether we wanna make a recommendation to council to surplus it or to not. I know one of the big things, so I did a little research, I know Brett and I were gonna talk to Jen. I did not go to Jen because he did, so I didn't want us to double up on what was happening. But I have some numbers because I did contact the courthouse. And I talked to the courthouse about taxes because that's a big thing, right? We could get taxes from it. We could get tax. So I wanted to know, back when it was Indian Trails, the resort, whatever, how much was the city of Kelowna gaining in tax dollars from the park? So I know taxes have gone up a little, but the highest amount on record, so the highest year that they had was in 2013, which the city did pay these, so no, wait, that would have been paid in 2014. So it would have been 2012. And it was for the city's part of their taxes was $4,164.63.
It's like the total property tax bill was 30-some thousand.
$32,696.
Part of that's agriculture.
Part of it's farm, part of it's the timber, part of, whatever.
It's actually really awesome. It's zoned a bunch of different things.
Yeah,
What was the $30,000 number?
that was their total amount that they paid in taxes, but what Kelowna received was $4,164 to the city. The year prior to that was the same, so we must have had an upcharge in Kelowna, because it was around the same, $32,000 in taxes, but we at Kelowna only received $2,800.
Your point being that,
My point being, I think, out of those numbers, it's my belief that we can make more money to benefit the city in different areas and have the parks for residents and make more than the 4,000. I mean, what our numbers projected this year, correct me if I'm wrong, because now I'm going off memory, but with the up that we did in the 3-tiering the campsites, the number of campers, our projected surplus or amount.
got that.
You
don't
got
have to guess, I have.
Okay, you have it, okay. All right, he's got the numbers, but anyway, so he'll tell you. But we had more than that in what the park would make, barring any massive improvements, right? And I know that's one of the big things. So something I would like for us to keep in mind as we go through some of this discussion is we were gifted, as a city, we were gifted this campground in 2014, right? Since then, I think because of it's been a constant struggle where there's been so many people for it, so many people against it, so many people. So we have spent this 12 years doing nothing of significant improvement to this campground.
If I,
Yes.
if, this is, I think this is important, but, digging into like the depreciation schedule of that, you can kind of see, and I agree, it's close to nothing, but $230-some thousand has been invested into that campground in the last 12 years.
In the last 12 years.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
looking into some of the depreciation records, it's probably not complete, but from that, you can tell that there's been $200-some thousand invested into the campground.
As a city that we've invested in that campground in 12 years.
$24,000 a year.
Very minimal. And so that's including mowing, that's including the maintenance.
That's just the capital improvements.
That's capital improvements. So I mean, as a city, because I think of the conflict, we have not invested an appropriate amount of money to reap the benefits of what that campground has to offer. And so I would like to see, personally, I would like to see us come up with if we're gonna say, hey, let's retain this campground, let's recommend, we need to retain this campground, and we need to do, these are the improvements that we need to see happen, this is the time frame in which they need to happen, and this is gonna get us to a certain amount. Because I would like to see, if we're gonna make $4,000 a year in tax revenue off of a campground,
More than that, though. That was about 14 years ago.
even
That's a big
Even if it
difference.
was $10,000, we still are projected to make more than that this year alone.
We also have like
Right,
sales
let me tell you what,
tax,
Jen,
hotel.
Let me go through what I learned.
Okay,
And I'll do the financials last, because I know once I put the financial page up, we're not gonna get to anything else.
okay.
Oh, come on. All right, so one of the questions that I've heard many times is, who's using the campground?
Mhm.
So I went through every contract for the seasonal campers this year, and I just recorded what town they were from. See, it's 26 out of Kelowna, 9 out of East Moline, and it goes down. Some from out of state, but most of them are within probably 20 miles of Kelowna, people that are using it.
Is that just seasonal campers or is that everybody?
That's seasonal campers, that's
Okay.
who signed the contract.
Got it.
I was not gonna try and go through last year's transient campers.
Yeah, do we even capture
I don't know.
information on them? Okay.
All right, so when,
Okay.
the, one way to look at this is, out of the 5,000 residents of Kelowna, 26 families use the campground. So that would, for me, that would strengthen my stance of Kelowna residents should not be subsidizing seasonal campers. And you'll see when I show you the numbers, they're not. I walked through every cabin with Cindy. We spent a lot of time in the cabins. They're a wonderful asset. They're beautiful, but they are run down. So in addition to the logs, there's interior work that needs to be done. A couple ceilings need to be looked at. And every deck I stood on is starting to get soft. So at some point, we're gonna have to replace all those decks. So whatever number it was, $80,000, whatever that bid that Ryan had, you can add $3 to $5 grand easily to that and say, okay, that's what it would take to put those cabins back into wow, this is a nice cabin,
Mhm.
and I'll pay money to stay here. I also asked Cindy about the pool users. So her estimate, she does not keep records, but her estimate was about half of the people that use the pool are non-campers. The pool passes, line item, estimated for this year is $26K. If you take the $225 we take from every seasonal camper, that accounts for $21K of the $26K. Estimated maintenance, the budget line is $10K. We'll blow through that this year pretty easily because of the pump problems that we've had out there, but they've estimated about $10K usually to maintain the pool. So the good news is, because of the seasonal campers, the pool generates enough income to cover all the maintenance improvements. We just haven't been spending it on the pool.
Mhm.
We've taken that money, we spent it elsewhere.
Yes.
right? So the pool house needs some attention, the equipment needs attention, all of that. But as long as the seasonal campers are there, that pool expenses are more than covered. Any questions on this?
I got a question. Am I allowed?
Not yet. Hold on. Hold it though.
I have a question.
Okay.
And I'm just wrapping my head around it. 50% of the pool users are non-campers, but we get 20,000 of our 26,000 from campers.
Day pass is like $5. So you need a lot of bodies paying $5, you know.
Okay.
The good news is we get about 5,000 from non-camper
Okay.
users, but that's half the projected maintenance on the year, so.
Probably not terribly important for the point you're trying to make here.
Well, and family passes, you know, we do sell family passes to residents of Kelowna. So you can buy a family pass, which I believe is 2 adults and 6 kids.
But the math tells me, my
Yeah.
math is right, and Brad will do the math for me.
Yes.
Is the non-campers pay about $5,000 a year to swim. So that's day passes and family passes. Not near enough to cover our usual annual maintenance on that pool.
Mhm.
So if we close the gravel, the campground part of Kelowna Scott Family Park, then that pool would become a city problem in terms of
Yes.
paying for it. That was my point on this slide. One thing Cindy said, and I put it up here just because, again, the next slide's financial, and we'll never get to this, is, you know, they've had some issues out at the park. Just this, the golf weekend, the guy was staying and he came in late and he couldn't get into his cabin, and there's nobody on duty. You know, he's making phone calls, we don't answer the phone after hours. She just said, if we're gonna keep the park, one thing we have done in the past and should consider doing again is that hosting, right? You give somebody a campsite and they're the host. They're the eyes and ears after hours. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but if we want to make the experience for the campers better, you could easily do this for $2,500, right? The cost of a campsite. They do it, I guess they do it a lot at KOAs, and that's part of their business model. All right, now for the fun part. So I sat with Jen, I got the updated numbers. She spent a lot of time with me, so thanks Finance Jen for that. The estimated revenue as of the 14th of July is $482,000. But 80 grand of that on paper is this transfer in for cabin repair or whatever. That's not true revenue. It's not revenue, and it's not even reoccurring. So I back it out. So the revenue number we ought to be looking at, or what is the campground going to bring in, is $400,000. On the expenditure side, our number is 474, but again, that's got spending 80 grand on cabins. It's a one-time thing. I don't want it in the numbers. So I take it out. Expenses are estimated at 394. That leaves us $8,600 of profit. But we haven't done depreciation yet. So I look at depreciation 2 ways. If I buy a house and I rent it out, I get to depreciate it. But the house is still valuable. It's not really depreciated. It's probably getting more valuable. Right? So it's hard to take that as a true expense. So I broke depreciation into buildings and other. Other is true depreciation. It's mowers, it's trucks, it's furnaces, it's things that truly are worth less next year than this year. And you have to account for that from an accounting point of view. But then I toured the cabins and I looked at those cabins and I'm thinking, you know, the maintenance on those cabins, once we catch up, there's still gonna be some maintenance on the cabins. And if you maintain them, like if you maintain your personal home, the value will go up over time. Either way, we can argue it either way. I've got both numbers on the slide for you. So if you say, what's our profit after all depreciation, it's an 81K loss. And if you say, well, take the buildings out, what's our profit? It's a 48K loss. And then for fun, as I toured the campground, and it is, I'm not a camper, but it's a gorgeous campsite, campground. I talked to Cindy and I said, if we put in more RV spots. Is that a big deal in terms of staff or labor or anything? And she said, no, it means less mowing. And once you pay for the gravel and dragging the electric and water out there, it's all profit. So if you wanted to break even, you'd put in 18 more RV sites and market them, and you'd break even on the building depreciation. And if you want to break even on the whole thing, it's 31, that's 30% of what we got out there. That might be ambitious, but the thought I want to put in your head is, one thing we could do, because we're pretty full, is add some spots. And that would help pay for some of the depreciation. Bottom line is, if you include all the depreciation, it's gonna be hard to say that property, the entire property, makes a profit. I will again argue that there's the campground, the gravel, and that makes a profit. And the rest of that, the pool, the mini golf, the tennis courts, around tennis courts or basketball courts, all of that in Brett's mind that's public park. Just like Ty Massey, just like Sullivan, it's there for Kelowna. And I don't think it's reasonable to expect that the campground is gonna 100% pay for what we call Kelowna Scott Family Park. That just like the city should be putting some money into Ty Massey and Sullivan and those other parks, they should be budgeting some money for the playground part, the mini golf part of Kelowna Scott Family Park. Now, we dissolved our park district years ago, long before I was here. And while the nice thing about doing that is you don't have any administrative costs, you're not paying an administrator or anybody, it didn't mean that the cost of maintaining parks went to zero. It just shifted the cost of maintaining parks to Public Works, to Ryan and his team. And we've had very little budget to do that for any park.
Well, getting rid of the park district also means you got rid of the taxing body, which is getting rid of the money coming in to maintain.
If people looked at, and I wasn't here, but my assumption is they looked at what the park district was pulling in for taxes. And they said, we don't want to pay that. Part of that went to administrating the park district, which is overhead, has nothing to do with the kids swinging on a swing. And some of that went to maintaining the parks. I hope the residents said in their head, well, we'll get rid of the administrative costs, but our taxes, our city taxes will go up because you got to maintain the parks. Well, they didn't, and we didn't maintain the parks, and now we are where we are.
And after passing the budget for this year, I mean, we're gonna remain in the same spot, right? Because we allocated $10,000 for the entire year to maintain all of the parks in Kelowna. And we have 9 parks?
10.
10 parks in Kelowna. So we allocated $1,000 to maintain, that's to mow, that's to maintain, and that's all of the parks in Kelowna.
And you get to take the school park and Gilliard's park out. That would make it 10, I think.
I don't know, we do it.
I don't think
was not
we even
included.
count, we did not even count those, those aren't even counted, because we don't do anything with those.
Yeah.
Those are not city parks.
The bottom,
Yeah, they're not open to the
I
city,
didn't think
they're
that
not,
was part of the 10, no.
I don't think they are part of the 10.
no. There are 10 other than that.
The bottom line is the problem has not changed, and it's not a Parks Committee problem. It's a City of Kelowna problem. We don't have enough revenue to run the city like the city. I mean, it's all on the revenue side. If this was my personal finances, I'd have to go get a second job or a better job to bring in more money to cover my expenses. As a city, we are not doing the things the city should do, one of which is provide recreation to its citizens. But that's a city council problem. The Parks Committee is not gonna solve that, but bottom line is, it's, as always, it comes back down to, we have a revenue problem. There's only so much we can do in the Kelowna Scott Family Park campground to generate revenue. And there are things we could do, and we could generate more revenue, but it's not gonna, it wouldn't, I doubt that it's gonna cover the $80,000 in depreciation. That's a lot more revenue to generate.
And we could argue about what the exact number is, but in the short to medium term, that property probably needs somewhere in the neighborhood of $48,000 to $80,000 a year just to get it back to where,
back to where it needs to be.
I would, and he's not here, but if I was somebody put in charge of solving that problem, I would take Jacob's attitude is, you're not gonna solve 12 years of neglect in 1 year.
right?
And you put together Jacob had that 4 or 5 year plan of, okay, so yeah, but you could easily invest.
Saying on average, I don't have to do it every year, there's gonna be ups and downs, but directionally speaking, that property needs somewhere in that neighborhood.
What do you think the total number would be to bring it up?
I'm probably not prepared to say that, but it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think.
Mhm.
Probably
Yeah,
several hundreds of thousands of dollars.
and I have more follow-up to do. I have to sit down with Ryan. He's a busy guy. When I was talking to him, I mean, his pager went off, 5 times in 10 minutes. It was nuts. But I do have to sit down with him. I talked to Finance Jen about, should we put in some more meters so we could see what's the electric for the campground versus what's the electric for the rest of the project. And she started explaining how all of that's tied together. She thinks some sites are fed from the clubhouse. And my guess is when I sit down with Ryan, he's gonna say, it would be wicked expensive to change out all those meters and treat it like Brett wants to, which is campground and public park. I'm starting to get convinced that, as much as I'd like to do that, it's to actually do it number-wise, it's probably not gonna be impossible.
So I agree that it's gonna take dedication, right? Which is why I wanna have this, why I wanted us to have this conversation and why I want the city to have this conversation, because there's a few reasons. Like Brad has been looking at some of our grants. And so the park, we kind of decided when we did our walkthrough, kind of like that. You take the campground area out of it, you take the gravel stuff out of it. And now the rest of it. So everything is kind of in the front. We got the playground, the big playground. We got the mini golf. We've got those tennis court, basketball courts. That's all city park, right? Anybody can go there, anybody can use it, it's all park stuff.
And I would argue, sorry to interrupt, but I'd argue that the pool falls in anyone.
Oh, 100%, yes, 100%. But I'm saying as far as that stuff goes, if we want to use some of these grants and we want to apply for more grants, right? And since you're here with Bi-State, like the OSLA grant, and if we want to use money in that area, it has to remain a city park area.
Correct.
So that's one of the things that,
Jen, I want you to say 3 more sentences on that for anyone that's watching. There's laws in the grants that say if we give you money, you can't use it and then sell the thing that we help you
yes,
improve. If you take our money, that means you're gonna keep this thing as a public
the
property.
public property.
And so Brad had a perpetuity
Yes,
clause,
perpetuity.
perpetuity clause in some grants.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Sorry, so if we want to use some grant money to improve these areas, to get them up to snuff, so that the park can maintain itself, then we have to say that we're not gonna sell this park. Or we're not gonna sell that parcel.
Right.
That those.
Not all grants have perpetuity clauses, but if Brad has educated us that some do, and you better pay attention.
So, I don't know if we should talk a little bit about the OSLID grant now, if this would be a good time
Sure.
to talk a little bit about that. If you could state your name just for people
Oh,
watching.
yes, absolutely. So Lisa Ahern, I'm with Bi-State. I'm the Community and Economic Development Director with Bi-State. So the grant opportunity right now that is out there is referred to as OSLAD. It's the Open Space Land Acquisition and Development Grant. So this is a program that you can use for acquisition or development. In the context of Scott Family Park, this would be a development project. And so the funding amount available is up to $600,000. Kelowna appears to qualify for 90% of the grant. Kelowna would have to provide a 10% match. So if you went for a $600,000 grant, you would need to provide $60,000. And the reason for that this year is because of disaster declaration happening within the last 3 years. Through Henry County, you qualify as having a declared disaster. So normally this grant is 50% match. So Kelowna appears to qualify for 90% of the $600,000. And that look back period is within the last 3 years. And the disaster that did occur was in 2024. So I think if you were to apply next year, you would still fall in that window if they're still allowing that provision in the grant. So development projects, the types of things you can fund are, playgrounds, walking, hiking, jogging trails, a lot of different amenities like soccer fields, baseball, volleyball courts, pickleball, that type of thing. Camping facilities are covered. Camping facilities including tent and trailer sites, tables, fireplaces, utility outlets for campers. So that would be something that would fall in the realm of eligibility as well. I'm just reading here. So group camps designated for specific groups or for which specific groups are given priority in use are not considered to be open to the general public and are not eligible for assistance. So to your point, it has to be open to the public. And so there are a few other areas of eligibility here within the grant and the development project. The timeline is kind of critical here. The grants are due August 31st. I did kind of work through a scenario of what would have to happen sooner rather than later if you decided to proceed. I'm going to pass those around. So if the city wanted to move forward, you would really have to have a project and site plan defined within the next 2 weeks. Because once you have that site plan ready, you'll need to get estimates. Those have to be submitted with the grant application as well. You have to have a site plan. So that's where Bi-State provides support. We can help you, or if you have an engineering firm you work with, they can help you as well, kind of mapping out the areas where you're wanting to do the improvements. So when IDNR receives your application, they need to have a really clear idea of what and so that site work does defined in the site plan, working through cost estimates, week 3 and 4. The other component, you'll have to hold a public the proposed improvements you want to do. And so if you were really trying to fit all of this within the grant application cycle, that public meeting would have to happen July 27th or August 10th. I was just looking at your council meetings. You can have your public meeting anytime you want, but I was just kind of throwing those out there.
It could be part of a normal council meeting cycle.
Yes. So the other piece of it is you do have to have a plan. So I know you're working through the comp plan right now, and Scott Family Park is discussed in there as far as some of the improvements that you want to make. So I think that's a benefit. But the community and the public input being demonstrated is definitely important from just a scoring perspective. So we worked with a community last year who missed just a few points of that funding threshold because the plan was older. So just some things to keep in mind if you decide to move forward with this particular grant opportunity.
Do we have to have a commitment for our 10% from our city council?
Yes, that would be a part of your resolution and your submission to the application.
And does that grant have a perpetuity clause?
I will have to look into that and let you know.
And
I'm
then
not
would
sure.
we, our Kelowna Scott Family Park is a bit unique. I'd love to see this grant applied to it and our playgrounds, but I'd hate to attach the Kelowna Scott Family Park to the application, only to have it rejected and lose them all. I mean, should we do 2 grants? You know,
I believe you can only submit one application.
so everything we want to do has to be on it.
Correct.
And is
Well,
it,
and why would you submit, why would you,
because they might reject one, if they didn't like the Kelowna Scott Family Park and they rejected it, we lose all of it. It's an all or nothing grant. They wouldn't
Yeah.
pick and choose and say, this stuff, yeah, we'll fund, and this stuff. It's they look at your whole application and say, you're in or you're out.
Yeah, they'll look at your site plan and what you're wanting to do. And there's a lot of features too, that there's environmental work that kind of comes in with the application, you know, when you're kind of making a case that your particular project is, how does it align with state standards? Do you offer, benefits to the public as far as community tours and education? So you're kind of collecting points for how your plan for a particular site works. So it would be it should be a very specific application to a very specific project within the city.
Not a general fix up 10 different parks.
No,
no,
Okay.
it's very site specific. So like
So-
one of the things we'll do, let's say it was Scott Family Park, we would provide a plat map and say, here's our map, these are our boundaries. The grant also requires that you have proof of ownership. So we're bringing the copies of the warranty deeds for the parcels that you're looking at. So it is very, very isolated to one specific project.
well, and I took when you first started saying it, that you somewhat were kind of recommending Scott Family Park, because it does include campsites, it does include, right?
I think any park would probably, you know, depending on what the project is, would be a fit for the grant opportunity. So I mentioned the camping facilities because it is one of the items that's eligible. But there are a lot of other activities that are eligible too. So if you had parks that needed updated surfacing and playground equipment, you know, that would be eligible.
But this could encompass the pool.
Yes.
So it could encompass could it encompass the cabins?
I believe that would fall under, cabin facilities very generally. So if you had an improvement plan or
So,
something. of
so
that
we
nature.
could potentially, if we did use it at Scott Family Park, we do have the $80,000 sitting there for cabin improvements.
Ooh, for
If
the match.
this was the 10%, we already have the 80,000 sitting there. We could go up to 800,000.
Well, the grant's only 600.
It's only, no,
The
it's,
max is 600.
the max is, so that we already have, then we'd have the 60,000 already sitting there.
So we would have to decide as a committee, since if I understood you right, Lisa, putting multiple parks on it is not the point of this.
Correct. You need one
We would
site.
have to, we'd have to either pick Sullivan or Ty Massey or Kelowna Scott Family Park. You wouldn't spend this on 9th Street.
Now, let me ask you,
Deed and some.
you'd have to have the deed
some land
and
can be
lease.
leased, but
time.
not, IDNR said it cannot be IDNR land leased. So we would have to.
Also, we don't own the land under Ty Massey. So that would have to be, it's really.
We don't own any of that land for Ty Massey, the
So
large
the only two
land.
parks that would be worth all this work to do would be Kelowna Scott Family or Sullivan. You know,
If we're saying we couldn't spread that across 2 or 3, like one big park and then smaller projects in some of these smaller neighborhood parks, if that's not a good idea, then yeah.
I mean, we have the 300,000, right? This would be ideal because we've heard lots of public arguments that they don't want that 300,000 to go to Scott Family. So this would be a great opportunity for us to focus that 300 on everything but Scott Family and apply for this grant specifically for Scott Family to repair those large ticket, right? We have large ticket items, the basketball, tennis courts, there's holes in it, like huge craters.
So how competitive is, I mean, the grant process is
Yeah,
burdensome.
these are pretty competitive. We had a debriefing with IDNR last week. I believe they said they had around 480 applications and around 200 were funded. So they're very competitive.
But that's 50%, so.
True. So you know, the biggest thing would be,
Mhm.
you know, whether you decide to go for it now or you wait, is having that site plan and having your cost estimate. And I'm not sure what kind of work has been done to really, you know, if you have like a physical needs assessment of the buildings, for example.
Well, the 90% match, the only reason we could even consider this is a 90% match.
Yeah.
And that goes away. This is, if we
It
don't
could
apply.
potentially go away at the end of this year.
Right, it may still, the disaster period, look back period is 3 years. And so it was July, I believe it was July of 2024, when the disaster was declared.
That ends in 27.
So next year's cycle, so that would be a question for IDNR, you know, what do they consider the 3-year look back from the date that they want applications due? So in August 31st of 2027, are they looking back 3 years from that date?
In
In which
which we miss.
case we would miss. So
Is there a way you can determine that? You can
I'll ask
them.
the question.
Okay. But
And I'll also ask the question too about, you know, if you had a grant that was just focused on repairs to cabins as well. So, you know, they may look at that and say, well, that's just a maintenance thing, you're not adding. So that's
I
another
don't think that it
question.
would be just, our cabin estimate is $80,000 to $100,000. So
Okay.
it wouldn't just be
We have
cabins,
some
but it
other
would give us,
activities.
like the mini golf is gonna take.
Well, I think Lisa's point is the mini golf is repair, the tennis courts is repair. We would have to be saying, hey, we're adding soccer fields, a baseball field, we're gonna
Well,
add a
they'll
pickleball
consider
court.
that, they'll consider those amenities. So I think once you kind of have the whole plan, like this is what needs to be done, looking at that comprehensively, like what would make sense to include in the application to make it competitive, and what do you really need, you know, so.
So competitive speaking, are they looking for us to be adding, or this is a disaster thing, so they're looking for us to be repairing, right?
Well, the disaster declaration just allows you to have a different designation as physically distressed. So, you know, the kind of the nexus with the disaster is, I believe there were storms, severe storms that came through during that time. And so resources get allocated in other areas that can't really be freed up for recreation types of things. So that's kind of the logic behind it.
Okay.
I don't know if I did I answer your question, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I just didn't know if, like Brett was saying, adding soccer fields or adding, I don't,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
it's not quite as much of that as it is.
yeah, it's considered a development project. And I've only worked on a couple of these, so I'll work through some of the information on this as well.
I mean, the goal would be to submit an application that has the best chance of winning. And if they don't wanna do 100% repair, then we gotta put other stuff in it. But I think
Yeah,
that's to
well,
our advantage, right? We're all arguing for pickleball.
Well, we can add premium site, or, primitive sites.
Right, so I think the bottom line is, we have an opportunity. Lisa will determine if it's truly going away, but it seems, just doing the rough calendar math, it looks like it's now or never for the 90% match. But if we say we're gonna do this, it is a bunch of work that has to start tomorrow.
I'm an optimist. I don't think you can get all this done in the amount of time you have.
But you're an optimist and you don't think it's possible.
I
Yeah,
would say there's definitely a huge ask for everybody who's overwhelmed by it.
It would have to be, I mean, we would all have to take on a significant amount and be dedicated to.
I think the work could probably get done, getting it through all of the, getting,
But I could focus on
Things
getting us
allocated.
through the red tape.
wait, so what do you believe that if we sat down and we were working full days,
yes, I think you can get the
full
work
time,
done.
sitting down,
Adopt a resolution with a required match of 10%. I know how these committee meetings go. It's
well,
gonna take,
But we have the money.
right, so
Yeah.
I
And
was
that's
gonna,
been earmarked for a certain place.
It would just be a matter
That would
of,
be-
it would still go to the same place, but it would go.
But it's the cabins, it's earmarked strictly cabins. So I mean, it's gonna have to be,
But I can't see any council member saying, we want $80,000 to go to the cabins and not $600,000 to go to the entire park.
Well, I think you gotta step back up a step. You gotta agree to keep it the campground.
Yeah.
Yeah, better push that.
Right, so this is gonna sound wrong, and I know my camera's being recorded. My attitude would be, we go for this. Right now, we decide we're going for this, and if in the next month, we decide, yeah, we're not keeping the campground, well, then we've wasted some time. Right.
That's fair.
But if we say, well, we have to decide, the campground thing, which is gonna involve public opinion and all kinds of stuff. If we say we have to do that first, we're not doing this year. And I'll bet you that the 90% match goes away after this cycle, would be my guess.
And I will ask that question, and I did find here as well, kind of going back to some of the questions to give some more clarity. Development projects may consist of a single improvement or group of related improvements at a single site designed to provide facilities for outdoor recreation.
Single site was the key.
So that would be, right,
Perfect.
but that kind of goes back to the maintenance. In addition to construction and renovation, development project proposals may include site planning, minor demolition, site preparation, design services, and similar activities for the implementation of the project. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So.
Thank you.
Okay. So it could include, we could include cabin repairs, we can include the mini golf, we can include the tennis courts, pickleball, we can include the pool, we can include paddle boats.
But I guess by great opportunity, we should go after it. And hopefully in that opportunity to put that money into this park, you can get it to the point where it's truly spending off some cash and supporting itself. So our original comment of, we saw we're keeping the campground.
Well, that isn't something that is like council, that is something that I wanted to talk about with this committee today, because I felt like we continued to spin our wheels, because in between meeting to meeting, we keep going back to, do we keep it, do we not? I wanted us to this committee to come up with a decision on what we wanted to do, and if we were going to make a recommendation to council to surplus it, then we can stop having all these conversations. If we're not going to make that recommendation, then I want us to push the pedal to the metal and get going on these grants and stop talking about that.
Lisa, did you say had a perpetuity? You said we had to find out.
I will look into that and see.
Because it may
I'm guessing
be-
it probably does.
All right, and it might, but it also might not, which could change the flavor.
I guess, whatever our recommendation's fine, but there has to be a plan too, of if we're gonna keep it, what is the plan to make it sustainable? And, hey, if we could dump 600K into this thing, get it fixed up, maybe add some more campgrounds to where we can get to a break even. Then it becomes, like, if you can figure out how to manage it and have it truly support itself, I'm all in. Let's do it.
Yeah, the math I did, while again, a little ambitious, is if you did put in 31 more campsites, we'd stop having the conversation of how is this park paying for itself? It would cover all the depreciation. 100% of it.
Well, and in my mind, I'm thinking, we're not even thinking about its full potential, because when you took the tour, all that land in the back that they mow, where the trail goes through, right? Every campground I've ever stayed at, it's primitive sites, so there's no water, no electric, no sewer, it's primitive. You can go there and camp, and maybe you pay $50 a night for a regular site and $25 a night for a primitive. But they're always full. So, we could add those kind of sites that would cost us nearly nothing to add.
Right, so how do you want to proceed? My attitude.
I would say at this point, we should maybe see how we all feel. I don't know,
Here would be my opinion, and I apologize for just calling people out. I'm not trying to call you out. but Brad's pretty sharp. He does have a job, but if Brad could commit to, full days for the next couple of days, and Melanie as well, who's off on summer break, I think, and knows a lot about grants, right? If 2 or 3 of us could say, hey, we will sit down and we will put hours in over the next couple of days to try and see if we could keep the schedule, then I'm pretty optimistic. But if Brad says, and you might, hey, I'm a businessman, I got a company to run, and Melanie says, yeah, I can give you 2 hours a day. I don't think, I'm not smart enough to get us there. I mean, I'm retired, I'll give you 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, but I'm not smart enough without Brad and Melanie, it's not in my ability.
Well, and I'd be willing to go out there and to meet with Ryan and to say, okay, this is the list of things. These are the list of things.
Yeah, we could certainly divide and conquer. There's a bunch of work to do, and
I'm here to help and support. I cannot give you full days.
what could you, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, what could you give us?
This is not a good week. Okay, I guess we'll put it that way.
So we would have to have, week 1 is this week?
Yeah, so yes, week 1 would be considered.
Week one's almost over.
Currently, yeah.
But we have week 1 and we have 2, so we have 2 weeks to define a project.
There's one more day this week. It is Thursday,
Yeah.
week 1. So
And
you,
there's-
I'm saying, so we have week 2, we have next week to
Yes.
define the project and the site plan, to come up with a plan.
With Brian working full-time and running all over the place.
I would be willing.
well, cost estimates, which is where we need a bunch of Ryan, is the next 2 weeks after that. The sitting down and saying pickleball court, yes or no? Fix the basketball court, yes or no? Just
Yeah.
making the list of what is the project. And then help me out again, Lisa, site plan.
Right, yes, a site plan, so that's basically a map of where everything is, at the campground, that's something by state would assist with, and which amenities are being improved. And also with the cost estimates, those are things where you're not just estimating them in-house, but you have, a contractor has come and looked at and is giving you a quote for what things may cost. And if there is an engineer that the city works with,
But we would have two more weeks to get that cost estimate together.
correct. Yeah.
So by the end of next week, you would help us with the site plan.
Yeah, if you guys know
I
what
should
you
do
want to
the project.
propose, then we would map it.
So I think sitting down with a map of that property and deciding what we would want, soccer field, baseball field, pickleball court, whatever. I mean, that's 8 hours, right? I mean, 3 of us sitting down, if we couldn't figure out that list in 8 hours, I think there's something wrong. Getting the quotes, do I actually have to have quotes, Lisa?
Yeah, they have to be submitted.
Right, getting quotes in 2 weeks, I am now, like, Brad shaking his head.
That's outside Ryan's.
I'm thinking that might be where the wheels come off.
I've been working on getting quotes on my project for 3 months now, and I don't have them all.
I'm not sure if we even have the deed technically yet.
I think we do.
For Ryan, because I know last time we had stated that we're still waiting.
I thought he said he got it. He finally got it. No?
I don't know. Last thing I remember anyway.
Oh, okay.
But getting the deed is, well, the deed just got changed, so it had to be filed. So getting that back officially, I don't know if the file is good enough or if it needs to be a issue deed. I don't think, it's a problem, but I don't think that's the biggest problem. I think getting quotes for pickleball courts and resurfacing the basketball courts and doing all the work in the cabin, getting those quotes in 2 weeks.
How long would a city normally take to go through this process?
Probably, that's a great question. So it's definitely a couple months at least. And just as far as if you, let's say you had a plan you wanted to do, getting the community feedback on the plan, like here's the grant we're going for, this is the project site that we're looking at. And then there may be some shifts in opinion based on that community input, where you may have to go back out and readjust a quote, for example, or have a contractor come back and look at things. But all of that, to say, I'm always an advocate of, like, these are great discussions to have. It's good to start putting pieces together. So then you are more ready at, when there's another opportunity that comes your way.
I mean, this OSLED grant's gonna come around next year, right?
Yeah, typically they've been every year.
Right.
Right.
So,
If we're lucky,
I'm willing to try. I know you guys are sounding like you're gonna throw in the towel, and I'm willing to try. So I'm willing to meet with Ryan and at least try to go for these estimates and see if I can get a public hearing scheduled.
There is a
Or
public
public
hearing,
meeting.
there is a public hearing at the clubhouse on the 29th of July.
for the
So
comprehensive,
the actions are moving to get this grant.
that public hearing is for input on the comprehensive plan.
Right.
It's not
But-
independent of this grant. I don't think they're related.
And does the meeting today count as a meeting?
It would be one of the meetings as far as we've talked about this
Yes.
project.
Here would be my, sorry, he's never gonna talk to me again. My proposal would be that we sit down tomorrow and we come up with the project definition.
I don't think it takes all of us sitting down. I think it's, the big ask is
We
Ryan.
have to be careful going night too.
Yeah,
We do have to,
and so we can't do that, but, I'm going to try and connect with Ryan today. And I'll see if I can set up a time, whether he'll meet with me tomorrow, or we can do a walkthrough tomorrow, or we can do a walkthrough on, Monday. And we will get this list started. I will send an email out with the list.
what's the meeting notification timeline? If we want-
48 hours.
48 hours. Again,
Yeah.
I think sitting down and coming up with what is the list of things we want to do, that's quick.
That's the biggest thing, right
That's the
now,
first
right?
thing.
That's the biggest ask,
Right.
is the
Yeah, what
project.
is the
That's the
project?
biggest ask right
Yes,
now.
and I think the other thing is make sure you have the deed. If that's not available to include the
Yes.
application, they won't.
To have the what?
The deed, you have to have proof of ownership and submit that with your application.
But you need the deed at time of application, which is not until August.
Correct.
Right? So
Yeah, but if
so
we don't
there's-
even have it and we don't know,
But you can't get Ryan to get estimates if you don't give him a list of, I need an estimate on 2 soccer fields, a baseball field,
I've been in construction for 30 years and I'm just telling you right now that I'm not gonna put all this on Ryan in 2 weeks. I will go through this with him. I will help get lists of who does what for us, and then I will work on helping him get estimates for everything. I'm willing to try.
I'm willing to try until Lisa's schedule, the wheels come off.
Yes. So if you're willing to help us try to get this through,
At least if
I'm willing
you
to
find out that.
put in 100% to try and,
Okay.
If you find out that applying in August of 27 still gets us a 90%, whatever the term was,
Right, 90% funded, yes.
Funded.
Yes.
then I'd argue, okay, we ought to continue, even if we miss this deadline, like you say, we'll be over-prepared for the next one.
Okay.
Okay,
Can I ask a question of Lisa real quick? When did this come about for the grant?
I
When was
believe-
that available?
I believe it was July 1st.
July 1st.
Mhm.
15.
And so
That's-
we're just now talking about it.
it's only been like
so I don't know what you.
15 days.
No, I'm just saying though, I mean, if you, that kind of money, why would we wait? We would want to get on it right away, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So that was just my question. Thank you.
All right,
I will say, if we
fun.
can't wait until next year, if we do have the approval, yes, we would still have the 90%. I still think it should go through council first to decide, should a town be in charge of the campground? I think it should go to the citizens, not only us, not only the council. I think it should go to the citizens to decide that.
Well,
If we can get, then we would have tons of, once that's determined, yes, we should keep this campground, or no, we shouldn't, then we've had a year.
My vote,
And-
to be honest, my vote would depend on whether we got the grant,
Yeah,
right? If there's no money, if there is no grant ever, should the city try to maintain this thing? I have a different opinion than if we say, hey, we could get this thing up and running properly. I
the
still might
problem
decide
is
we're
the
not in
city
the
gonna
business.
designate any money towards continuing maintenance? That's the big thing.
But not only the money, but the people, because
Well, but
the people are out there.
Well, agreed. I mean, I think there should be a full-time park manager out there.
Then there's the money again, where's that money gonna come from? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Are we gonna get off money to,
And then if you got on the other side is if you do sell the park and I'm lowballing 1 million, is that our water
Well, you
department?
think you'd get $1 million for that?
I think I do. I do. So I mean, could that be our water? Have they gifted us water? And, and I think it keeps coming back to, should the city be in charge of a campground? I just think it should
it's
go
not
through that
necessarily in
first,
charge of,
or-
do I think that do I think we're running it appropriately? No, I don't. Do I think our public works director should be in charge of it? No, I think that should be revisited, but I don't think of it as, like, because the city owns it, that's its downfall. I just think that it has been mismanaged for too many years. And
How
so,
would we get, I mean, obviously don't know real estate prices. My opinion would actually be different. If there was $1 million, if the sale of it as is was $1 million, that might sway my opinion.
50, 60 acres.
It's 70
it's
something.
75 acres and it's,
In our comprehensive plan, it's listed in one spot as 50 and another is 60.
That's because there's a ton of parcels.
yeah, it's actually 75 acres.
You know where you got that information. I don't know, I'm just curious because our comprehensive. plan is-
Conservatively, probably very conservatively, just the
I don't
dirt,
know.
Say it again.
just the dirt, fair dirt, which it's not. $500,000.
I don't know.
Plus, you have the ponds, you have the buildings.
Well, if someone wanted to buy it as a campground, it's worth more than if someone says, I'm gonna tear everything down and farm it.
Yeah, no,
Okay, so, for right now, I think when it comes to this particular grant, we need to start that. So I will make a couple calls to Ryan. I will see if I can connect with him. I'll get your number
Yeah, I'll be
before.
there.
Okay, and then, I'll try to get back to you tomorrow and, see about moving forward. And as far as all of us, is it something everybody's interested in? If we can get this through, if we can get this stuff together, is everyone interested in doing it? Are we not interested in doing
Hang on,
it?
Melanie's, I wanna say polluted in my mind, that's the wrong term. Melanie has caused me to rethink what I thought. She has a point. We should and it's what you started the meeting with is, are we keeping it or are we not? If it turns out, and it sounds like Melanie is saying, if she had to vote today, she'd say her vote would be to sell it. I'm trying to put words in your mouth.
100%, yes.
So she's
You don't
yes.
put the words in my mouth, yes.
I don't know where Jacob would fall. He's not here
I had talked to him about it and he said he's not in favor of selling
to,
it.
and you strike me as not.
I am not in favor.
Brad?
I am one little leaning towards selling it, but my statement stands of, if the city can come up with a way to manage it and have it fund itself, and we all believe that we can get there, okay, let's try and keep it, but I'm very skeptical that we can get to that.
I'm not only thinking of it as a park right now, though, I'm thinking of all the things that we as a city have to fix.
Yeah, I do think we're
For us.
being short-sighted in that. That campground is committee time. It is spread too thin. There are other things that we would be better off focusing on.
I mean, to be honest, when I walked in this morning at 9, I was leaning toward keeping it. Laura made some good points. I would hate to give up on it, and then years down the road, I wish we hadn't. Because it is a forever decision, right? If we say we're getting out, when we sell it, it's never gonna be part of the city again. But I'm leaning more toward, I'm more open now to say, well, maybe it should just be cash. I'd hate to take a gift like that and just turn it into cash, but maybe that is the gift.
But the things that we could do, maybe the gift is more
Yeah.
infrastructure. I mean, there's so many things that we need done in the city
Appreciate it.
that is relying on this mark.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting here stressing
We
over.
need a new municipal building. We need,
It would be very interesting if we ask the residents, do you want to get rid of the park? I think we owe them, what will we do with the money? Because I think a bunch of residents might say, I would not trade that park for a municipal building. I would trade that park for roads that are fixed or our neighborhood parks. So it would be interesting to say, yeah, water.
but you had, 25 campers out of the 5,000. It would be interesting to know.
Well, and I'm just gonna give you an idea here. So quickly, I Googled campgrounds for sale. This one looks pretty close to ours. It's 1.3 million, but it's 49 acres of campground sites. There's 9 cabins, 2 bathhouses, 9 shower stalls apiece, a house with a basement fully furnished. 49 acres of forest land all the way around it, roughly 36 acres of completed undeveloped land suitable for more cabins and more site hookups. I mean, they have a pool, and that's 1.3 and it's in North Carolina.
Right, so
So the
maybe-
idea of getting $1 million for ours here in the disarray that it is in, I think is very
If we have
high.
here, that's something that we can look into and have realtor.
I know, I just, when you threw the number out and he's like, oh, with that kind of a number, I'm thinking, I'm just trying to say, let's be realistic in the number. Maybe 600.
I mean, at some point, somebody thought it was worth 3 million, because that's what some folks for.
I don't know how that number got there, but that's a good point.
I don't either.
I like it.
Well, and you can say that it's worth that, right? But then once you start getting somebody to buy it and you look at the pool's not running, the mini golf is nothing,
That's
but they dug up the basketball courts, there's holes all over in it. I mean,
Yeah, and again, the cabins, I walked through just,
the cabins aren't I mean,
Yeah,
so the bottom line, Jen, is I don't know that you're gonna get your committee to a decision on keep or not, because you were already divided.
so then I guess the question would be, are we trying for this? I mean, am I gonna go try for all of this and then we're like, yeah, They don't want
And try for it and use it to bring together parts that are, it would be Stonebridge, Greenwood, and Sullivan. Are the ones we'd be able to use it for.
This grant that Lisa's talking about, single site,
it's a single site.
it's a single site
So
grant.
Sullivan, probably the only one.
Yeah, you,
And,
Hopefully we would
and
put
you gotta
600
think
grand.
about, we got this $300,000 out there, right? Can't be
Time
used,
ask the
it
envelope.
can't be used for that.
you
Can't
can't,
use
we don't
others.
own the land.
No, that's not, $300,000 is totally different money.
I know, and I thought that 300,000,
It's for the parks.
it is for the parks. I don't know that it has, we could double check. I don't think it has the same limitation.
I don't believe that 300 has.
Okay.
to either.
but then the other thing about the 300,000, which is something we were gonna talk about, is all the money can only be spent on bondable projects. So it can't be used, like the list that they gave us, a lot of it is repair, it can't be used for that.
I think it'd be like the fencing, brand new playground equipment, poured rubber or anything underneath. It can be for the pickleball court, it can be for a basketball court.
Well, pickleball, as long as it's not, it can't be, it has to be a tear out replace type deal. It can't be
That's
just,
just a tennis court. I'm
The-
just saying, Sarah.
but that tennis court doesn't even need that.
Yeah.
It's also in great shape.
So Jen, my recommendation on this
That's okay to be.
would be as quickly as we can, come up with, define the project and maybe even a site plan. Right? We may not even be able to agree on that. So, but I think that's worth, 5 hours of effort to at least come up with that plan. Right?
Mhm.
And then my guess is when you see that plan and the number of pieces in that plan, and the number of estimates you'll have to get, then our optimist here will take over and say, yeah, you're not gonna get every single one of those estimates in 2 weeks. But I don't know. We don't even know what estimates we need, we don't have a plan. So I would argue, we should at least take the first.
How old can our estimates be? Like,
That's a good question. I will have to let you know.
if we have the estimate for the cabins,
When did you get that estimate? I mean, I would think within a year.
was it October?
Yeah,
sure.
October or November of last year?
Okay, I'll double check, I'll ask the question. I'm not sure.
So it wouldn't be a year yet.
Right, I'm just guessing a year.
Yeah.
That's fairly recent, so.
These are questions you might not know the answer to, but you might. If you work with a lot of cities, right? And Laura was arguing that Kelowna is unique in that we're trying to run a campground. Right? And it's not typical. A city typically doesn't have that kind of endeavor. I know Eldridge just got rid of their roller rink or something up there because they didn't want to run it. How common is it for cities to run stuff that isn't truly, sewers and water towers?
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer that question. So I've only been with Bi-State for a year and my context is this region. And so I do know, Hillsdale has a campground, but it's privately owned. It's somewhat similar to the setup. I've not visited, I just
But
watched.
Hillside City doesn't run.
Hillsdale, the village of Hillsdale does not run that campground, but maybe they're a good, fellow municipality to reach out to. And, did they own it before? I have no.
Do you think Gina might know? I mean, if it turns out that, 2% of cities have ventures like this,
Right,
truly in that kind of, then I'm leaning more toward Melanie than Laura. But if Gina came back and said, no, about 30% have some kind of community thing that they're running. It could be private, but they're running it. The thing is, when you make it private, you have to make a profit. Right? So it gets more expensive. I mean, the city doesn't, we're not returning money to shareholders, if you will. All it would be is lower taxes or something. I'd be interested to see
Yeah.
how unique is this campground being run by a city.
sure. I'll look into it.
I think the closest analog is a municipal golf course.
That seems to be fairly
Yeah,
common.
that's,
And those are fairly common and they're run as a business.
Yeah, the extra money that the golf course throws off goes to pay for sewers or.
Well, I mean,
They'd probably keep it in-house for the most part.
their
don't they?
run is, they have a manager, the manager has the power to make decisions, it's an enterprise, there's a term for it. But it
and
doesn't,
some signage.
it's kind of this side entity that is attached to the city, that is like,
Mhm.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I have a strong impression that not every
So
decision.
let the record
flows
show
through the
that
city
Brad just argued that we put a golf course in it. Almost got that.
Yeah.
Kidding.
I wouldn't argue that.
I'll look into it.
Sorry.
I think another thing we would have to add in there though is to see how many more employees would we have to add? If we do have all of these new amenities, what kind of employees would we need? And who's gonna pay for that?
Well, I do agree that it ought to be professionally run, now whether we, how that occurs, but someone needs to be dedicated out there, I agree.
I mean, and I have always argued, I know we missed the mark. We had somebody that applied to manage it out there a few years ago that they did not hire on, that came from Jocelyn campground out there, what's that, Landing, is that the one out there?
It's on Cross Rock River.
Used to be a Landowitz Lake.
Landowitz Lake, is that the
Used to
one?
be
Yeah,
that.
okay, so, and like she argued that she would be full-time year-round, because in the winter is when you plan all your summer events and you're getting everything together, and the reason they didn't hire her is because she wanted to be year-round. And I think that's where we're missing our mark, because we do need, I think if we hired a manager out there that, I mean, you could have swim lessons and a lifeguard, and I just don't think we use it to its potential and what it could offer the city.
Food.
But I think it would
I
pay
think
for
that's the main
itself.
thing.
It would pay for itself. I think that it could easily pay for itself.
From like having swimming lessons. What else?
I mean, I think all of it. I don't think we have as many sites as we should have. I don't think we don't have enough events.
Year round. I mean, what could we do year round to get people to stay in a position like that?
Well, I think what you do, most campgrounds, their managers are year round and they don't operate year round, but you make enough money in your summer to cover those expenses through the winter. I mean, but I don't think we optimize or we manage it, we don't get its full potential out of it. I think we just have been like, it's out there right now, we're just gonna leave it, we don't wanna put any money in it, we don't wanna do anything to it, let's just, you know,
So,
do the bare minimum.
so how do we close this topic? Are we gonna do it, try at least do define the project and come up with a site plan?
I say I'm gonna work, with Ryan and try to get the site plan and try to work on estimates. I think as far as,
I think you're putting the cart before the horse. I don't know. We have not yet decided what we're asking Ryan to consider. Is it mini golf? Is it a golf course? Is it pickleball? What is it? I think coming up with that list, which is not.
I don't think that's, again, I feel like you're wanting everybody to be, if you would like to do it with me, I would love for that, but I don't think we all need to sit down and decide what the $600,000 worth of projects needs to be. I think we need to go out there, and I bet he's gonna have a list that will come up with,
Who's passionate about the content of that list? I am.
I am,
You are.
Sure.
and we can't have three, there can be two of us.
What is a quorum? Three out of,
There can be two of us, so if you would rather you guys do it,
we also have to be careful. I can't sit down with Brad and come up with his list and then sit down with Melanie and sit down with you. I think that's
no,
against.
I don't have that intention, I think we need to sit down with Ryan. Easy to go out there and come up with $600,000 worth of work that needs to be done, that would improve, and we would still meet the requirements.
Would it violate OMA if you asked everyone on the committee to send you their list of what amenities they'd want to see out there, and then you took that to Ryan? I think that's okay. Because we're not making decisions, we're just giving you input. We're not debating it, we're just providing you a list of what we'd like to see out there.
I mean, I think, again, I don't think I'm going from what my perspective is. I'm simply gonna go with Ryan and say, okay, this is how much money, where would you spend it? What would you do?
I personally would tread lightly right now, because I know that we might be in a rush and we want this and we want this, but he is so overwhelmed already that if we go at him with all of the stuff that we need, I don't think it's fair to him.
I'm just asking him for a list of what he would want, and then I will help do the estimates and see if I can help
And I think
get some estimates.
I think that list already exists. Didn't Jacob put something together?
Well, that was like electrical and this, and I'm talking about,
It wasn't new stuff, it was a maintenance list.
it was a maintenance list.
So my proposal would be, everybody send Jen, as quickly as possible, your list of what things you'd want to see the money spent on. Pickleball courts or mini golf or frisbee golf, whatever it is. Just send it to Jen, and then you sit with Ryan for a short amount of time.
I'm
and get-
very short.
That's how I would try to proceed on this topic. We've been here 90 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll proceed that way for right now. So now, the other thing that we needed to do right away, right, was the other grant, the $300,000 grant.
Right.
And the thing we need to take off that list, right, because that needs to be bondable projects. Probably came up with, we have this whole list to spread that money with all of the parks. And there's no way you think we can get to $300,000,
Not with all those smaller repairs.
small repairs. So,
That wouldn't be bondable anyway.
no. Something bondable would be like, for example, so we need to decide, and we could decide a few projects, maybe. If you remember on our tour of going around, I don't know why I keep forgetting the name of this one, Greenwood, the fence. Maybe replacing that fence in Greenwood. Also, the surface, right, was bad. Should we put on there to remove the sand and put down?
My tour of the parks showed me that if I had a child in a wheelchair, I wouldn't go into our parks. So I would argue that we should have at least one park in Kelowna that's got that poured-in rubberized surface, so you can wheelchair up to a piece of playground equipment that's designed for kids with disabilities.
And I'm thinking that that park would be the greatest one to do it with. That was the one, remember that was the one that had the least amount of sand?
Which one?
Greenwood, right over here.
The one in the Greenwood edition before you get to the interstate.
Okay,
So that's the one where the gate, they didn't have any gates, so it had a fence, the fencing was
it
broken.
was on a corner.
It was on the corner between two roads.
Yes, I remember it now, yes.
So we should replace that fence completely.
I would want to take whichever park I would make my disabled friendly park, I would pick the park that has the highest number of houses in a radius around it.
I personally think the biggest park should be the Ty Massey Park.
Don't we have a problem that we don't own the land under that though?
Yeah, it's leased through the DNR.
And I don't think that's a limitation on
Yeah,
this
that's
piece.
not,
Not for this
that's
one?
only
I
allowed.
don't think so.
Okay, if we list off the park, we have Stonebridge, Sullivan, Greenwood,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Family Park, Old Kelowna Park by Swanee's,
Mm-hmm.
we have the Ty Massey Park, and we have that little tiny,
There's one by the water tower, 8th Street or 9th Street.
Well, we also have the large diamond,
what that?
the large diamond. All the way
Yeah,
down.
baseball.
Mhm. That's, it is part of it, yeah. And it's the small, the tiny Massey, the small diamond, the large diamond, the park there.
I think that's where our $300,000 should go. Bondable, that's perfect. You have all the fencing for all the ball fields. We've talked with.
But that's, the large diamond did not need. When we walk through there, their fencing is pretty much all new.
But they got vandalized.
No, I mean,
Which one's Timbrook?
Timber is the ball field.
Right by the river.
Yeah. And then Ty Massey is the one up. I mean, you can spend all of your money just in that one park.
Gallagher's
You
Park.
could easily.
Down here it's the
that's-
school's
that's
property.
school.
yeah,
We have the school park and then we also.
You could
school.
easily put the $300,000 into Ty Massey.
Just like $100. I honestly.
It's
think that's
still
all
probably
we
have some
should
things
concentrate.
left.
And if we think about it, 8th Street Park, they may need it for the water department soon. I say take that park out, put anything we can in the different parks, Because he's gonna need that for the water anyway, when we redo the water.
He needs
That's
it
what
for the
he's-
water?
Right by the water tower.
Yeah, what's the, he needs I know,
When we redo all of that, they're going to need that anyway, to be able to get access. So I mean, if we take that park out, and that was the other thing, the survey, I'm not sure who did that survey, but that was a really good survey. 8th Street Park and Old Kelowna Park were the lowest ones. Side Green one, but that's not fair because they have no other access to a park. But those were the 2 least used parks.
and I would argue that that could be just demographics in the neighborhood. And when that neighborhood turns over, and.
Well, I was gonna say, when we did our tour, Old Kelowna was the one most used. There were people there,
Nice one.
yeah, there were people there going on the bike path, there were people there were cars there.
Well, that's
No,
what
my
we're
argument
talking
is-
about.
Those people-
I wouldn't say because a park isn't used now, doesn't mean it won't be used 5 years from now when the neighborhood turns over.
Yeah,
But I think if we put $300,000 in Tynassie Park, do you need the little tiny park that's falling apart already?
Wow.
the only one that we didn't look at was 8th Street. We did not have that on our list, it's not on the list
So
of
Melanie, you're
Kelowna's
arguing
site.
against neighborhood parks, your attitude is we ought to have one big park for Kelowna and everyone goes there. If you argue it that way, you gotta say it ought to be Kelowna Scott Family Park, they got the most land, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of
And it's
neighborhood.
our land, and it's,
But
Big
where's the
fan of
majority
neighborhood
the
parks.
children to be able to even get out there?
well, it depends, I mean, I think it's probably,
Right, so you're arguing in favor of neighborhood parks, yet you're willing to get rid of a park. I don't know what the next closest park is to that one,
8th Street Park's not far from Tynassie Park,
okay?
and it's by the canal. I mean, you can go to the canal from there. And then I know that they were talking about a dog park, so can we take the old Kelowna Park, take that equipment out, and people wanted a dog park, otherwise.
but the equipment, so this is what we did when we toured it, the equipment is not in bad shape at the Old Kelowna Park, it's actually,
Can that go to Solden?
now, I think we leave the equipment because it didn't need a lot in the park aspect. So I say we leave the equipment and we add a dog park because we have tons of land and we already have one side of the fence. So you just need 3 sides of the fence to add the dog park is what we talked
I am
about.
not a fan of eliminating playground equipment or eliminating parks.
And then we didn't go through a single park other than we did not go on 8th Street, but it is not on our website and we did not, I did not realize it was back there. So we did not go to 8th Street, but other than that, we toured all the parks and there's not one of them. Because originally I thought, based on what people were telling me, we should eliminate some parks. If we're not gonna maintain them and we're not gonna put money in them, if we're only gonna spend $10,000 a year in all of our parks, then why have that many parks? But then as I toured them, I'm like, all these parks are in great shape. Like there's not one park that I went to that I thought it needs to come out. That's why our list is like paint, a few broken swings, paint and fencing. Otherwise, and even Tynassie, for me, I don't see $300,000 worth of work unless you're redoing stuff that doesn't need to be redone. Like the tennis courts, there was nothing wrong with the tennis courts when we were out there, other than the tennis nets. So I would argue that you could probably go out there and maybe resurface it if you want. But what's that gonna cost us, $1,000?
What about the restrooms out there?
Restroom's pretty rough.
You got that pavilion that probably. could
Well,
be
the
redone.
pavilion, the electrical in the pavilion was bad, remember that? The electrical in the
And you
pavilion, and the restrooms were locked when we were there.
But if, they can't even use them. That's how bad it is
They're
inside.
pretty bad, I was in there.
So if
I say I haven't
you
been
do,
in them because they've been locked every time I've been by.
but they are bad inside. The cement is cracked, the toilets are whatever. I mean, you could use a lot of money just on, the.
So not $300,000 even in the bathroom.
I disagree with your statement that the parks are in great shape. They're functional now, but all that equipment's in.
Her statement was none of the parks were so bad that the right solution was to rip them out. The right solution on those parks is put some money in them. I still argue safety first, so you need to address any safety issues with your $300,000. And then I would say, trying to make something for, handicap.
I think you could argue that every single piece of playground equipment in this city has a safety concern.
I don't think so.
Maybe not every single, but it would.
I would say, I don't think so.
You saw a couple-
Honestly, Greenwood was probably in the worst, because it had missing monkey bars, or in that, it had missing bars, had missing pieces, the swings were broken, the sand was almost gone.
All of them need to be served, the surface needs to be addressed in some way.
So
Yes.
that is one of them that
Sand.
I would definitely put a little money of that 300 in that park. It had no benches, no place for people to sit. Like if you're there with your kids, there was no place to sit. And the fence was in poor shape. I thought that one was in way worse shape.
What is it we're trying to decide here? Where to spend the money?
Where to spend the money.
Once you address any safety concerns, I wouldn't care where you spend the money. I don't think it's worth arguing. Spend it somewhere.
I mean, the other thing
Get
here
the safety
is
stuff done first.
the discussion we had on, the bid process. This grant has an even stricter bid process. So we have, so everything we do has an alpha bid. I think we're crazy if we're not just gonna be like, let's pick a large chunk of work, write a scope of work around it, put it out for bid.
Well, I do think, so if you think about something that least amount, like one company can do, right? Would solve fencing company. I would replace the fence in Greenwood. I would put a dog fence up in Old Kelowna. And then I would be okay if we focus everything else at
But it doesn't sound like you're gonna get one company to do it, because you're gonna need someone to do services, someone to do.
No. What I'm
No.
saying is scope of work in other parks. I would be happy if we saw a new fence at Greenwood and fix that fence. A fence for a dog park area around the Old Kelowna section that we talked about. And then the rest of the money, fences and whatever else, the rest of the money and the bigger bids in Timassy Park.
So these playground equipment companies will provide you a turnkey estimate. They'll do the whole thing.
I think Ryan started that.
Yeah.
With a company that he knows already.
But if we wanna make that, the Timassy one, you wanna include in that grant and make it handicap ADA, put the spray base over there, do something with the equipment over there.
What's the agreement we have with DNR on that land? 99 years or something, or?
I don't know.
It's 99 years, but.
Right, my point is, I also would be reluctant to put $300,000. I don't know what guarantees we have about the.
Well, and
continued-
Laura's recommendation was to do flock cameras, but I don't know.
I just don't know what the agreement is on that land. And if
Yeah,
the
we should-
agreement is every year they get to decide if we renew or not, then
We should
I'm.
know that. I'm guessing it's probably safe-ish to invest some money there, but we better know that beforehand.
Yeah.
I don't have a
So
problem.
are you okay with that? If we at least do the fences in those other two parks? And we
Fences
get
and
the
surface.
fence and
I mean, one of the
fence.
things I'd like to know about the fences, I don't know this, do we need them?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you have
He
kids
asked a
and this
different
one's
question. He
between,
didn't, not to be rude, but he didn't ask for your opinion. He asked, do we need them? You're talking from a legal point of view.
From a legal.
I would like to know that as well. If we're obligated to have fences for a safety thing, if that's, standard park safety rules is you gotta have a fence. But if it turns out there is no rule about having fences, I'd be willing to say, well, why do we have them?
as a parent and a citizen,
And by the canal, I would want a fence.
Yeah, I'm saying maybe you want them. Maybe it's a good idea.
I mean, that one's not totally fenced in.
Which one?
Timassy Park. that-
None of them are. They're missing gates on some of them. I mean,
Yeah, but this one, Greenwood, that's two roads. on each side, it's right 4
Neighborhood,
feet.
neighborhood roads, yeah. Okay, well,
I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
yeah, it's a good
I
question.
don't know. I would say yes there, and the only other fence that I'm talking about is the one, Old Kelowna, and that's to make it a dog park.
Yeah, I guess back to the fence. Man, I go to a lot of parks in other cities. Some have fences, a lot don't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would depend on where they're located. Are they busy? Like Sullivan Park,
Doesn't have a fence today, so.
it's in the middle of the neighborhood. That's different. You know, this Greenwood, literally 4 feet off 2 roads. As a parent, I would appreciate a fence.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
You know what I mean? The canal, I could go either way. If you had a fence on the canal side and the road side and then not leave the rest open, I don't know.
But anyway, I guess my opinion is, what I'm afraid of is like, if we got, hypothetically speaking, we said, hi Nancy, let's make a moderate attempt at redoing that playground. Like, I've added that up and I just, like, man, we can do a decent job there for $200,000. My experience has been, when I think it's $200,000, we
It's
get,
$500,000.
we get a real estimate, like, oh, we got to scale back because we only got $300,000.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and I think that's where I want to go next, is go, and I have heard that Ryan's been working on this, go get this estimate from one of these playground companies and be like, maybe if we want to make an impact, we can only do one thing, and that'll be too bad, but.
Well, I would like to see, personally, I would like to see the fences in those 2 parks. And then if we want to spend the rest of the money on one specific park, you want to do a pickleball court over there, you want to do, but I think in this OSLEC grant, even if we wait till next year, I think that pickleball courts, where those basketball courts are, would be great.
Pickleball court somewhere would be great. And Time is probably a better place for it.
The unfortunate part about that, and where I would argue that it probably wouldn't, is only because we've repaired those tennis courts how many times? And put a new, my daughter used to take tennis lessons there, and every week that tennis net was ripped up. So just because it's pickleball doesn't mean the kids aren't gonna continue to keep destroying it.
Hopefully we have to
Yeah, but the good thing out here is there's a guard shack right next to it. So even if there's more deterrent, you know, because they're right there. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of the campers, there's a lot of seasonal campers that are retired and that's where they're living and that's where there's a few more eyes.
How's Geneseo keep their pickleball courts from getting destroyed?
I think it's, I don't know, I don't wanna say.
I'll bet you they got a camera.
I did start a little research note on how to prevent vandalism in parks. I'll wrap that up and send that out to everybody.
Okay,
But it's a valid concern.
all right. Well, I feel like we discussed a lot, talked about a lot, didn't finish a lot.
I don't know that we were walking away with,
Too
solid
much more
action.
clarity. But let's talk about the next meeting, because we've been here 2 hours and I'm about done.
Can we, I don't want to leave, right, can we, this donation policy?
Why, it's almost like I anticipated that.
Yeah. No, we
I think it
can't.
would be nice to at least see where we're at.
Okay, yeah, oh, for the last one, yes, E. Facility rentals donation policy.
Right, so up on the screen
Yes.
is what I believe the purpose is. Hopefully we all agree with the purpose. And whatever policy we set has to be consistent and can't discriminate and has to protect our assets. We don't want taxpayers paying for private events. We don't want something that, takes an act of Congress to administer, and it has to be defensible, whatever we pick. So the first option, we just don't ever waive fees, right? Really easy to administer. everyone is done equally, but it's kind of hard-hearted. For a city that's broke, this one has some appeal to me because I'm not giving away money. I get the sense that not many people agree with option one. Option two is do what we keep doing, just send them to council, right? And hope that the council is consistent and doesn't discriminate and, spend the time. Not a big fan of this one, it's what we're doing today, and I don't think it makes sense to continue just, everything goes to council. We could just say, hey, at a minimum, we're gonna cover our costs. I am personally a fan of this one, right? If we're gonna waive fees, we never waive our costs. We could say, hey, you gotta be a qualified nonprofit. Right? That makes it a little bit easier to administer, but there might be some local group that isn't a true 501c that, you feel, well, we ought to give them a break. We could give discounts only if you're Kelowna based. Right, but there's a bunch of work there trying to figure out what qualifies. Looks like I've got some slide problems with my quotes. Or you could try to apply some kind of community benefit. I've heard council members argue, hey, if it benefits the community, you waive the fees, and if it doesn't, you don't. Or you could say, well, there's, this gets more complicated, but there's some kind of tiered structure where if the city's doing it, it's 100%. If it's a Kelowna nonprofit or a civic, well, then they get some percentage. And then if it's so this is your other choice. I don't think there's any other options. I think 7, that came up with 7. I think that covers all the options unless you guys can think of an option I didn't think of. So the question is,
Well, I think for one, I mean, personally, I would get rid of no fees waived, right? So we get rid of option one, in my opinion.
can I just do this? Can I just say, what option would you pick?
Well, I don't know.
So I know it's not 1.
Yeah,
If
go to
you,
2.
if you made me pick, I'd say 7.
All right, so I have Brad votes for 7.
Could you put that one back up then? I want to make sure I'm saying the right number. I'm also 7. It's nice that they can just almost come to the office and say, we are this, and they can automatically say, okay, you are category 3, we're done.
Jen?
Yeah, I could get on board with 7.
Then you have majority.
What do you?
It doesn't matter what I think, and it doesn't matter what Jacob thinks, because now you have a majority.
What do you think?
I'm hard-hearted. I voted for 1 for now, but I could go with 7.
I figure at least we're getting some of the money back.
Okay. Yeah, my vote would either be 7 or go back once. I think it was 3, I think. Three.
Well, so 3 is a bit in 7, because category 2, in category 1, we eat the cost, but it's for the city. Category 2, we get the costs. Category 3, we get half, and category 4, we get it all.
Now, it says Kelowna nonprofits or
And
civic organizations.
So you have to be 501c. I can't have, Brett needs a new motorcycle. But I'm from Kelowna, so I'm gonna argue that, hey, you gotta give me the clubhouse at cost because I want a new motorcycle.
But what if you were doing, Brett needs a new liver, and
Private individuals.
you're a private individual?
I would
That-
say.
So if you were gonna do, if somebody came to you and said, my kid has leukemia, can I do a benefit there? You're gonna say you have to pay the full cost.
If that's what's agreed by council.
That's why I'm saying I would like to see if they're a Kelowna resident and, the person is in Kelowna and your child was diagnosed and you need a facility to do a benefit.
Okay, so you're on the very slippery slope. and I'll try and pick a ridiculous case. If my kid needs a new liver, I could see you saying yes. But I could also come up with something that's much more controversial than a liver, that's important to my family, that residents of Kelowna would say, why are we paying for that?
But you wouldn't be paying for it, you'd be recovering your costs.
Is this just for the clubhouse or is this for also the activity
Yeah,
center?
I would
Because we
say
can say, hey, maybe we
I
could
would-
do that for the activity
This would
center.
be for Kelowna assets.
Okay.
Activity center, clubhouse, pavilion.
So it'd just be cost recovery, so if you were gonna do it,
So your heartache on 7 is it doesn't cover Kelowna charitable that's
it
not
says
an unofficial, right now it
Kelowna
says
nonprofits.
Right, I was being very specific there, so you are correct. This excludes a resident that doesn't have a 501c.
It also excludes, like, let's say, a longstanding person is retiring from Kelowna. And we wanna throw a retirement party
Hang
out
on,
there.
is that a city-sponsored event? If Ryan's retiring and the city wants to throw Ryan a party, that's a city-sponsored event. It's open to the public. Come wish our public director happy. He's too young. Who's old? Someone that's old. I shouldn't say it. I'm getting myself in trouble. Someone that's retired, right? That would be category 1. Now, if Brett's retiring and I want to throw a party and bring my family and say, hey, if anyone from Kelowna wants to come, you're gonna.
No, that, I meant somebody from the city.
My kid needs a liver, yes. Brett wants to retire, no. You've now taken the city council back into every citizen that's not a nonprofit. You have to evaluate and make a judgment call, and now you're opening yourself up to favoritism or discrimination or whatever.
So we would essentially give no more breaks for benefits.
That's, if you went with option 7 as written, the rental fee waive cost charges for nonprofits and civics, so Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or whatever. That's the way it's written today. There is no break for private citizens. We can put it in, but now you have to adjudicate, is it any private citizen for any reason?
What's your feelings on that?
Can you do a category 5? Can you do a Kelowna resident versus non-Kelowna resident there, or
Do you feel the same way?
what's that?
That you would do a Kelowna resident wanting to have a benefit? You would just recover our costs, or no?
I almost either category 3, private individuals.
The reason I put the nonprofit wording in there is if I want to do a benefit for Hell's Angels as a citizen, are you gonna waive fees or not? Kelowna residents are going to give up money that could go into the budget so I can throw a party for whatever reason. And
But it wouldn't just be a party, it would have to be a benefit. The only reason that we shifted the language, right, to nonprofit is because you said, how are you gonna know that they're actually doing a benefit and if they're not a 501c3?
How many times a year do we get a request from a resident that isn't a nonprofit? They want to do something.
Not good for many.
Well, we've gotten like several this year alone.
For a private individual?
Well, like the camping group, right? They're not a nonprofit. They're not set up, so it would have been no, they would pay full price.
The fishing derby?
Mhm.
That's a city
No,
sponsor.
no, not the fishing derby. They came with us what was it? They came with us with 3 dates or 4 dates.
Campers United.
Campers United, so that would be a no.
Under this, Campers United, I don't know if they're a true nonprofit. If they're not,
They would pay full price.
they would pay full price. That's a good point.
Mhm.
But remember, the point
The
of this,
million, yeah.
the point of this was to take the burden off of the city
Yes,
council
for
to
sure.
make sure we're being fair. Right? I mean,
So, and just, yeah, I'm just saying that that's,
Is that considered city sponsored event, because they did say all the citizens, and all the children from Kelowna can come.
well, I was kind of confused by that because they didn't. They said that they buy certain things, so no, they would not. I said, is there a way to register kids if you're gonna bring them? And they said, no. That they wouldn't necessarily turn kids away, but they don't want kids from the community.
I don't
Just
think
come.
they said it like that.
Well,
They like to
That was the
have, they
gist.
would like to have a head count, so everybody would have, something to work on.
but,
I mean,
and I
this-
understand, you can't buy, there's 500 kids in Kelowna, you can't buy 500 projects but I took it as remote was primarily campground kids, campground families. So they would then have to pay full price.
And what's the full price?
160 for the pavilion.
Then I guess they'll put up a tent.
But you know what I mean, they wouldn't for the rest of this year, but that's what I'm saying with this one, that's what I'm saying, that,
we could try to put a provision in option 7 to cover private requests.
private Kelowna resident.
Wouldn't the campers group be a civic organization?
It's just an activities that they do at the campgrounds. to entertain
I
the
don't
little ones.
know.
Strict review of civic, I think, is like the Boy Scouts, the Girl
Yeah,
Scouts.
it'd be like city run.
And they do.
But-
I mean, I
I think-
think you could probably put them in there if you wanted.
Brad brings up an interesting point. We would have to define, make sure civic organization is very well defined. Or you just found an area that's not clear.
I almost think, can you add a fourth or a fifth category of saying Kelowna, private residents, individuals, and for-profit organizations versus non-Kelowna residents. I would definitely want to support my Kelowna residents. If I have a student at my school who's having a benefit.
Then they would just have to cover the costs. That's what I would say, that they would fall in category 2. If we could add them to category 2, where they would rental fee waived, but they cover the actual costs. So whether that be $100 or,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, that is a group that benefits the campground.
So give me the words.
The
How would you change the description of category 2? We certainly keep Kelowna nonprofits and civic organizations. Well, what would you say the description of category 2 would be?
Kelowna residents for benefit purposes, for a benefit, or nonprofits, Kelowna nonprofits, and Kelowna civic organizations.
I think it's also a big difference between the pavilion and activity center, which is $160, compared to the Scott Family Park main building, which is like $800.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well,
that's a
it's
big
like
difference too. I mean, $80 for a benefit.
I think it's 7.
Well, we need a policy.
And I think the other ones are,
I just paid $160.
Bottom line is, we need a policy. The goal here is Kelowna has assets and we rent them out. And that relieves the burden on our taxpayers. If we're going to waive the fees and make the taxpayers lose that benefit, under what conditions will we do that? So the amount of the fee doesn't matter to me, it's the fact that we're asking Kelowna residents to give up a benefit for something. Nonprofit or whatever. So right now, I'm hearing option 2 is gonna be reworded, it's Kelowna residents. So if it's not a Kelowna resident that wants to rent one of our properties, there is no,
Non-Kelowna resident for a benefit, they would have to pay full
they
price.
would have, well, they could,
I think it was
well,
66.
we could also modify 3. I mean, 3 is other nonprofits, 50%.
Last month.
But again, I'm trying to get the council out of the job of evaluating and, and making decisions in terms of waive or not. Because if you're not consistent, you're discriminatory, and that's a problem. So, but it sounds like category 2 is Kelowna residents, if it's a benefit. So again, Brett wants to bring my family in for a reunion, and I'm a Kelowna resident, sorry. But I've got a student I'm trying to do a fundraiser for.
They're not, they've
Mhm.
been on for a couple months now.
You say benefit, is fundraiser a better word to
I got
put in
that.
there?
Well, no, because you can do a fundraiser for anything.
Again, Brett wants a new motorcycle.
Yeah.
I don't, actually.
Correct.
Okay, so benefit. I'll find the right words.
Yeah, I would think benefit. right?
Okay. I will find the right words and I will send it out. And then next time you can, or do I make a motion that, assuming I find the right words that's agreeable, that we send this to council? Otherwise, it's not gonna go for another month.
All right.
I would say, well, let's see. Yeah, possible action, so,
I make a motion that we choose option 7 after rewording of category 2 to be Kelowna residents for benefit, whatever true words I pick that means that intent. I make that motion that we send this to council for approval.
Second.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right,
okay, so now let's take a vote. Alderman Hillman, yes. Alderman Herpert,
Yes.
Goddard,
Yes.
Jackson,
I could be funny and say no, I'll say yes. Sorry.
and Waterman absent.
Okay,
Motion passes with 4 yeses and 1 absent. So he will fix that and we will send that on.
all right. Was there anything else on the agenda you wanted to do?
Set a date for the next. I'm thinking that, as much as I hate to do this, I'm thinking that if we're gonna try to get together with Ryan, try to get there, I should know, I say we meet the first week in August. And I had to know by then, we'll already have the July 29th meeting? Is it just on the schedule?
If you meet with,
Comprehension.
if we meet again first week of August, I'm just looking at Lisa's schedule here, which is intimidating me.
What's the July 29th meeting? You said there was one on July 29th?
It's a comprehensive plan. Right.
It's a public hearing for that comprehensive plan.
Right.
So does that count as our meeting for this? No, because it's a totally different thing then,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so it doesn't count with this, okay.
Just so you know, Monday, August 3rd is the backpack night, and that starts our first week of school.
That's your first week of school? Okay, so then,
That's also, the night out, I think, sorry, that's Tuesday, the first day of school, is National Night Out for the police department.
what about July 27th, that Monday? It's a Monday. It's the same day as the council meeting.
I can do Monday.
Can you do Monday?
I'm traveling that day.
You're traveling that day?
Yeah, I'm out of town.
I just had an appointment to, city council meeting.
Well, it's 80% sure I'm traveling that day. It's still a little up in the air, but that's the plan right now.
It's unacceptable that you have a life outside this committee, Mr. Goddard.
Okay, so 3 of us would be here. We'll at least know by then.
When are you back, Brad?
Supposed to go to a meeting on the East Coast on the 28th, so I'm not real sure, like,
Alright.
if it's early enough in the morning, maybe, but I wouldn't want to commit to anything.
Yeah. Well, and if we make it just a very quick meeting about whether or not we think we can get this done in time. I should know by then, right? We should know whether it's even gonna be possible.
Sure.
Okay,
So 10 o'clock on the 27th?
I know you hate 9, but can you do 9?
I can do 9. You reckon my training.
I don't know. We do 9 AM? You do that?
The 27th at 9 AM.
Okay. It's not gonna have all this stuff on the agenda, so we're gonna basically be discussing this Osler grant and. Okay,
Is that all you wanted to get in today?
that's,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Should we decide what everybody's doing? We're not allowed to talk after we adjourn. Are we deciding what everybody's doing for the grants?
I intend to send Jen my list of things I'd like to see done at Cologne Scott Family Park. And I'm gonna send that to her by tomorrow, so when she meets with Ryan, she'll be thinking about frisbee golf and a golf course for Brad's golf course, we're naming it after you, Goddard Golf Course. I'm gonna send Jen my list. I don't think that violates Homeland.
Can I say something now?
yes,
That spreadsheet that I gave you,
yes.
the 5-year plan for the Clover Park. Now, Ryan and I sat down, the reason we put the cabins as second and the Ranger, first is because that's a safety issue. It's falling down. So that's what we're requesting through the grant. And with the cabins being a second, you're not ready to go this year anyway. So that's why we pushed it for back a year. But that's the plan that we came up with.
Okay. All right.
I can't hear
All right, so if there's anything in particular, just send that.
you. I got no dollars.
to me, and I'm gonna try to call Ryan, but I'll actually just down there and meet with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ask you something.
Yes.
What happened to the signage? Are they waiting for construction on the interstate before they contemplate putting up TV signs? Or whatever happened to the signage that was being thrown around that curve?
We sent that through council.
Yeah, it's ordered.
If we voted on it, it's ordered, we're just waiting for
So
the
it's gonna
state.
happen then?
Yes,
So we'll have signs up there if we dissolve it,
That can also be
I
changed.
mean, we can take them down, but yes,
but we're paying for it though.
yes.
So essentially we're wasting money on that. We don't know where the campground's going from here.
It's a
Well,
pretty strong statement to say we're wasting money. We haven't made any.
Well, no, I'm saying if it would get dissolved and then we put signs up, then it was a waste of money, correct?
well, not necessarily, it'd be there for them.
If you sold it to someone that's running it,
It would still be,
In the hopes that somebody buys it and makes it a campground again, or keeps it.
we would recover the cost of the sale of the campground, so it would be.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, I'm not gonna spin my wheels on this grant. until we Find out from Brian if they're selling the campground.
Well, that would be something that council, we would have to decide.
No,
Thank you.
I know,
That's all I
my
got.
responsibility.
All right, so are you gonna,
I made a motion, we adjourn.
okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
I'll give it to you in a second. All right, we're
How much
adjourned
time is
at
allotted?
11:15.
The time that you're saying that we have a grant, to the time of when you